let's move on to our next film. And, well, actually, two films. I guess in preparation for the new Conjuring film, I watched the first two Conjuring movies for the first time. Lachlan, I know you said that you've seen the first one, hadn't seen the second one, right? And
Yeah.
Rory, I think for you the same, right? You've seen the first
I
one?
hadn't seen either of them. I thought I had, but I hadn't. And I watched all three. I watched the first two, and then The Devil Made Me Do It today.
Oh, okay.
And I finished them at like 8 o'clock, so just before we started. So I'm fresh off of a Conjuring.
Wait.
Well, then share your
Binge.
thoughts. What do you think of the Conjuring franchise before?
You
the
know,
third one?
I think it comes back to whenever there's like an average horror movie, people really oversell it and then they milk that universe for everything it's got. Like Conjuring has so many spin-offs already.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. I think they're very okay. I feel like it would make a really cool TV show since there's like each new kind of investigation kind of has its own twists and stuff like that. And I felt like I was watching, I felt like I watched 3 2-hour TV episodes of a very, very good TV show. And I didn't mind them. I definitely thought The Devil Made Me Do It might have been one of the weakest story-wise. It wraps up very neatly and suddenly, and the second one probably bored me the most. I think the first one is the only one that genuinely kept my attention the whole way through, but there's definitely flaws to it. I think it's just a very competent director,
Right. Yeah.
with James Wan doing a film that in other hands would probably be just a bit worse. But it's hard to like comment too much on them because I definitely don't hate any of them. I was just kind of like, I'd finish it and be like, okay, next episode. I really felt like I was just watching long TV episodes, and I kind of like the idea of that. It's almost like an anthology. Well, it kind of is in a way. And then they've got the collection growing and growing. Maybe eventually after like 50, that all of them will be released at once.
Yeah, it almost feels a bit like Mindhunter in a sense that like this could be a movie, but it is a TV show, and you kind of move from case to case.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the opposite. Like Mindhunter could be a very good movie.
Yeah.
This, I think, could be a very good TV show.
Yeah, Lachlan, what did you think of the first two Conjuring films?
I really do enjoy Conjuring 1. Like it is, as all starts to a saga franchise it's usually really, really strong. And again, I agree. It's a very competent filmmaker doing his craft. He knows the horror genre very well, and he can sculpt it into this certain direction. In terms of the story, the first one, it's a good mixture of Ed and Lorraine and obviously the family, where you're kind of introduced to the family at first, and you're also introduced to Ed and Lorraine. Where the second one, it's kind of like, all right, Ed and Lorraine, let's introduce you to the family, and then, cool, the family, let's get straight into the jump scares and horrors and everything. And the third one is just like, all right, Ed and Lorraine, all right, fucking send it, let's go. All right, cool, forget the horror. We're just going to do, okay. That's how I can see the franchise of 1, 2, and 3. If we're just going to talk about The Conjuring, we're just going to kind of ignore the spin-offs. We're just going to focus mainly on the 3 Conjuring movies. Conjuring 1 did a really good job. And I think there's a lot of video essays out there on the jump scares of The Conjuring 1. And there's especially that one of the lady on top of the bookshelf. And that's a really good jump scare. There's a number of things in this first movie that just don't seem to happen in the second and third, which the third didn't seem to have a lot of jump scares. It seemed just to be more kind of like, this is freaky and look how fat this dead guy is. And that's basically what the third one was. Not to get into the third one just quickly because we're still talking about 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I agree. Number 2 is quite... It is boring. It's not that interesting in terms of story, and obviously it's all, based off a true story of Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing about it, to be honest, because I didn't have really enough time to read up on how much they obviously pretty not liberal, but they're pretty
No, this literally happened. This is a documentary, Ewan.
They're pretty open with the interpretation of this is based on a real story, and I don't know. I sometimes take issue with it quite a bit because when it's so far from what actually happened. Like true crime is fine, but if you make a horror movie with ghosts and everything and these super normal creatures, then maybe don't call it a based on true events film. It feels just weird.
But why not, Ewan? What's wrong with ghosts being real? Are you a skeptic? I
hate
You're a racist?
I
hate pale
I was
people.
a skeptic too until I watched The Conjuring.
Yes.
Right.
And as it wasn't Shrek, I'm a believer. It sold me on it. The second one actually made me a skeptic because it bored the shit out of me. So I went the opposite way. But But like, I think the second one has an alright ending. I think the final part picks up a bit. I like the Crooked Man's design, the Crooked Man who walked a crooked mile.
I didn't really get why they have such a strong use of CGI for that creature when the rest of it feels a bit more grounded. It felt like, oh, we're trying to scare you with something like the twisting, the exorcism part, I think becomes more and more increasingly harder to look at the more they do it. Like they don't do it as much in the first one. It's just someone, it's like bleeding from the eyes, and then in not to get into the third one too much, but it's just an increase of the cracking sound of that someone makes and the twist of their joints as they as an exorcism is performed on them.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I think if we want to continue to the third one to close off 1 and 2, the only, I mean, I have a lot of issues with it, but one of the thing is when you watch a horror movie, do you guys think about how you would deal in that situation where you would go, if I was here, I'd get the fuck out, or if I was here, I'd do this. Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, I'm always like that. I'm always like, no, I'd probably kill the other person first. Like I always do. Wait, are you talking about? Do you picture yourself as the killer?
Continuing
he had
on.
wet dreams about Saw.
Yeah, me neither. Actually, no, definitely.
The spike, the pike, the electrocuted tree trunk. Obviously, that would fulfill the vision that Lorraine had. And they were using an axe at the door. And she thought, oh, I'll go and run upstairs to stop him instead of get the axe and cut that pike down.
It's hard cutting pikes, Lachlan. You know, it's raining. It's.
There was a dude there who could also help.
We don't know the quality of the axe. Also, the pike wasn't thin. That was going to take some time.
Yeah.
And you know what if? And you know she's out in the rain with a metal object swinging around while there's lightning around. To be honest, I'm sorry, but you know, I think you'd be dead in a horror movie because you're walking around doing gardening while everyone's trying to take on a demon. And you're fucking doing horticultural care.
Lachlan out there shouting out Manscaped.
Though to be honest, if I was the demon, I wouldn't. And the one way they can beat me is they know my name. I wouldn't go tell them my name when I first met them. I thought that was very convenient. That she's like, I can beat you because I know your name. If I was the demon, I'd be like, shit, I gotta stop introducing myself. I'm gonna stop being like, hey, I'm Rory. He's like, okay, Rory. It's like, oh no, I'm beaten.
It's like that. It's like that German. Fairy tale by the Grimm brothers. What's it called?
Rumpelstiltskin.
But
Rumpelstiltskin didn't go, hey, my name's Rumpelstiltskin, and then at the end be like, you can have your kid back.
I would have loved to see the nun dance around a fire just saying her name. What was her name again? Something.
Ivika is like
something like that.
Ikiv, the nun.
Ikea.
Oh, the nun's name like Vanek.
Vanek, yeah,
that was it. It's a great name to scream out as well. Like, I condemn you back to hell, Vanek.
But the thing is with the Conjuring as well is like I was like, okay, but like they don't have the best backstory sometimes. Like it feels like I would like a few more glimpses into the past, and I feel like maybe that's why they do the extended universe. But it would work better sometimes in the films if we knew a bit more about why. It's kind of like Demon Slayer when you get the glimpses into the demon's past. It's probably some of the best parts of that show. Whereas like in this, they kind of investigate a tiny bit and then most of it is jump scares. And I feel like more investigation and more past revelations would be a bit like more enthralling for me and bring me in it a bit.
And then the Warrens, to me, the characters are mostly like, oh, we are Christians. And it's there's not much more to them as characters. And they're married.
So Ewan hates them.
I do. Yes.
Like we're Christians. Ewan's like, I don't like this movie.
Do you see my upside down cross that I got tattooed on me? Of course. I got a big one all over my chest.
All us three need to be in a house getting haunted because Lachlan's going to be out the back planting something or, I don't know, using an axe to chop down a tree. And Ewan's just going to be refusing to hold the cross that will save him because he's like, I'm sorry, but I'm not Christian, so I'm not touching that.
And Rory's like, so what's your name?
Yeah. I'm like, hey, I'm Rory, what's your name? But like, I feel like the demons are probably after this incident are more like strippers. It's like, what's your name? Trixie. Is it really Trixie? Is it really? I feel like, you know, but like what a bizarre way to beat it in the end. And then the third one was like, was completely different because then there was no real like big demon thing.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let's get into it.
Are we moving into the third one?